Welcome to another episode of the Random Cinematic Universe, the show where we let a randomizing algorithm choose the films that we watch and then discuss on the show. This week, I've got Mark Nadeau and Jesse Nelson with me, and we are watching the absolutely wonderful Dark Tower, an adaptation of a book called The Gunslinger by Stephen King. It's Dark Tower is a series.
The end of the movie says based on the series of books by Stephen King.
Okay.
But let's only do like the first 2.5.
Allow him to speak first before I get unhinged.
Because we can't swear for a little while, and he's going to get mad and start swearing. So we need to get at least a minute into this. The Dark Tower follows a child named Jake. It's Jake, right?
Mm-hmm.
No,
I watched this yesterday.
Starting with it follows a child named Jake.
I would say it follows the gunslinger. But
No, it doesn't. He's right. Continue.
It follows a child. The movie follows a child named Jake.
Yep.
Chambers.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little under
Don't
the
know
weather
where
still.
Eddie or Detta is. but
And he's having all these dreams and visions, and he's drawing them, and everybody thinks he's crazy
Yeah. Mom and stepdad included.
but he's just got the shine.
until he finds a portal. And he goes through the portal, and he finds the gunslinger,
Roland Deschain.
Roland.
Roland
And
Develd.
They
Didn't
find out,
forget the face of his father.
No, he did not. Well, at times he did.
and they find out that, or it is explained to him that there is a dark tower at the center of the universe that protects the universe. There is a man named the Man in Black. I don't want to say his real name because it's stupid.
No, Walter O'Dim, Walter Paddock, Martin Broadcloak, or Randall Flagg.
See, I always thought it was
just
Randall-
just as soon as they start calling him Walter,
He is.
I'm just like, he's less threatening now. Who is a sorcerer, who is trying to destroy the Dark Tower. And that's
In the
kind
movie
of
he is.
in the movie. So that's kind of the movie, is that Jake and Roland are trying to stop the Man in Black from destroying the Dark Tower, which apparently they need the mind of a child who has a stronger psychic ability,
The Shine.
they need that to destroy the tower. So the Man in Black is after Jake because he has the most pure shine that he's ever seen.
And the occasional group of children sacrificed to
So right out of
impact the Dark Tower.
right out of the gate, we're torturing children.
But hold on. Have you guys seen this before?
This is okay.
First time
I will
for me.
preface this with, I have tried to watch this film multiple times. I have never made it past the 20-minute mark until
When Roland shows up?
no, I don't think I've even made it to Roland.
Yeah.
It was just so bad that I didn't keep watching. And only because we had to watch this movie for the show that I forced myself to sit through the entire film.
Yes.
So we're torturing kids right out of the
So
gate.
you've
So
seen this.
I
You've
hadn't.
seen this.
I hadn't seen it. I had
Have you
heard
read the books, though?
I have read, I believe, up until the end of book 5 or 6. I'm not 100% sure.
Song of Suzanne is 6. Wolves of Kala is
Yeah,
5.
I definitely skipped.
Was
No,
it the Doctor Doom Jedi people?
Okay, I remember the Wastelands clearly.
Yeah.
And I remember
Wizard and
the
Glass
one-
is like the flashback.
Wizard and Glass. I
Yeah.
remember that one. I very hazily remember everything after, and I think I stopped after the one after Wizard and Glass.
Wolves of Kala.
So I think I got maybe halfway through that, and
Yeah.
I think I just gave up. But the funny thing was hearing all the bad reviews for the movie and hearing Jesse's very strong opinion about the movie.
By the way, pre-podcast. Just like
Yes,
a blanket.
yeah, exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
going to level with you guys. I don't like this movie.
This movie has come up
Yeah.
just in our general discussions long before this podcast was ever conceived.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen it, and I came in I came into this movie with a very low expectation, and we'll get into it. But I think my expectation was met and exceeded, but only because that expectation was beaten down into the ground.
It's fair. And I might
So-
have tainted that.
Yeah, so for me, the movie wasn't as bad as everybody made it out to be.
So I saw this movie August 12th at 6:35 p.m.
Jesus.
in Theater 8 of Granton Cinemas in seat L9.
In Kelowna,
Wow.
British Columbia, Canada.
Do you have the ticket? Nice.
Oh my God, he's got the
We
ticket.
gotta put that up on the wall.
So here's my ticket to when I saw this fucking movie in theaters, and I've held on to it because I was like, I'm going to see the Dark Tower movie, and I was like, I already decided in my head I'm gonna. By the way, it says senior because I never paid full price for a ticket.
How did you get a senior's ticket? Or did you just buy it online and nobody really checks?
Absolutely. The teenager at the door doesn't fucking care. It's
And
like
when you get there,
$40
you're just like, they're like, this is a senior ticket. You're like, oh,
they
I
don't
must have
say,
hit the
they
wrong
fucking
button.
tear it and go, come on in.
Yeah.
Anyways, I committed to be like, I want to keep this ticket because like I have this, and like when we saw The Matrix in the theater,
Yeah.
I have that ticket stub too because it's cool to just have a
I have-
physical stub of The Matrix. I didn't like the movie, but I held on to it because I committed emotionally to hold on to this fucking ticket. I was walking out the door to get ready to come here, like, and I saw this on my mirror, and I was like,
Oh wow.
I forgot I had this. So yeah, this is my ticket to when I saw this movie 5 years ago.
It's insane.
And
Yeah,
I've read
so-
every book, including Wind Through the Keyhole, which is the 8th one that takes place midway through the Dark Tower series.
Yeah, so I guess it's safe to say, like, you're generally a
fan.
Stephen King fan.
So I'll say my dad, prolific reader, who's got me into reading, owned every Stephen King book, like up to the point, and then I just really inherited all of them, but like owned all the Stephen King books, and I started reading like Cujo, Shining. I think I went Cujo, Shining, and then one of the short stories books, and then he's like, "Hey, here's the Gunslinger," and then I just went on a fucking tirade. At that point, when I started reading it, either Wolves of Calla or Song of Susanna was out. So I actually can't remember which one was out, but no, Song of Susanna was out. So I was like actively waiting for the 7th book. So like the ending of the series, I got the book like day one.
Yeah.
Fucking read it. Like,
Yeah.
you know. So this is a series that is from fantasy, horror, sci-fi, western. It's a very big mix of genres. Like. Near and dear to my heart of storytelling, and there's a lot like in my creative works.
It's influence.
Yes,
Yeah. It's a big influence on
I
me.
think I read it. I remember just going to the school's library and flipping through The Wasteland because at that point I had read quite a bit of Stephen King and I wanted to read more.
Was it the
It had all the
House
crazy
Demon or the train cover?
It had all the I think it was the train cover.
Yeah.
It had all the crazy illustrations from the Wastelands, and I was like, "This looks cool." Oh, this is part of 3. Oh crap! So then I went and I found the Gunslinger.
Yeah.
I think I read it in like a day or two. I was like,
It's
"Okay,
not big.
no," but I just powered through it. Like I
Yeah.
didn't care what else was going on in my life. It was the Gunslinger time. And then I read the second one, same thing. Third one,
Drawing of the 3,
and then I remember being like, "Oh, this is it." Oh crap. And then I think it just completely fell off the radar for me for I don't know, like a good 10 years or longer.
well, he didn't write. Sorry, we're not reviewing the books, which I apologize for. We'll get back in line, but I think there is like that groundwork.
We'll get back to the movie.
Yeah.
We're laying a foundation.
I think Wizard of Glass came out late 90s, and then he didn't write Wolves of Calla until like the last 3 books came out like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Like it was Stephen King has a tendency to get distracted.
Didn't he get hit by a Buick though?
He got hit by a van.
It was Buick 8.
and then he wrote himself in the later books getting hit. They're them stopping him getting hit by the van.
Right.
Stephen King's in the later story. I don't want to go into it. It's a whole thing.
Oh, he wrote himself in.
Dude, the multiverse is wild.
Oh,
So
Move over, Marvel. Fucking Stephen King did it first.
so getting into the film, the film starts off with what looks like the town from Big Fish, like the little town that's like the perfect grass road down the middle
in the northern
of all the
wastelands.
houses.
Yeah,
little cat.
where the twins from The Shining are.
Yeah,
I'm going to list every Stephen King reference every time you come across it. There's the twins from The Shining playing patty cake in that scene.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
but it's just this like little suburban town, and then there's this giant structure. And we go inside. Oh, an alarm goes off, and some kids' watches go off, and so they go into this big structure
willingly,
where they're
which is
presumably tortured in an attempt to destroy the Dark Tower. It fires this big light beam into the sky.
It's weapanizing their shine.
Hits the Dark Tower, and then
is a reference to a group in the
Doctor Sleep.
In the books called the Breakers, and they're trying to break one of the beams going to the tower. Before we get too confusing, everyone, the tower is the center of reality.
Yep.
best way I've ever heard this analogy made is if you look at a mirror
Mhm.
and you take a nail and you hammer the nail, and where it splinters out,
That's
the
tower.
nail is the tower.
Yeah.
It is the focal point of all multiverse and all reality. It's a singular point
Mhm.
that spreads from there. So obviously, kind of important, kind of a big deal.
Yeah. So then we cut to what looked like uptown New York.
Yeah.
I want to say it's probably around Harlem, based on
Soho.
ish.
It's like it's the old brownstones type area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's specifically not Brooklyn because when he goes to the house, someone says that's my old hood in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's in Manhattan somewhere.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Skyline says Manhattan to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And it's caused this.
Which does track. Jake is from New York in the comics, Jesus, in the books. Fuck me.
So it's whatever the Man in Black is attempting to do has caused a tremor of some sort.
And
so
it
it's
seems
this
like
child
whatever's
waking up
happening
an
to the
earthquake.
Dark Tower is affecting
Everything else.
everything else.
So we cut to Jake right away.
Yeah, and then we cut immediately to Lagertha.
Who?
Sorry, Jake's
Yes,
mom
that's right.
is
I thought
Lagertha
it was.
from Vikings.
I thought it was. I didn't look her up, but I immediately thought, oh,
Which-
that's
Interesting note on this actress, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. I think her name's Catherine. She's a Canadian actress.
okay.
But one thing that I noticed is if you find roles of hers pre-Vikings,
Mhm.
sounds completely normal. Anything she's in post-Vikings, a little bit of the accent she uses in Vikings seems to slip through in her dialogue. I don't know why. I don't know if she just went so immersive in shooting Vikings that the accent started to become part of her natural speaking voice.
Right.
But I've noticed it come through a little bit in any role post Vikings, especially in the show.
I
what's
believe
it called?
I believe that because like I remember reading an interview with Charlie Cox being like he would bomb either auditions or like have to do different takes because he didn't want to look at his scene partner.
Yeah,
because
he got so used to being blind and not looking at people when he's talking to them.
Yeah.
That poor soul.
What's the show?
But we cut to Jake pretty quick, right?
Yep.
To reference, this is when Jake shows up in the first book.
Yep.
So, for those who are listening and not watching, Jesse's holding my
About a
copy
good-
of the
good
Gunslinger. Jake doesn't show up until a third of the way through the book.
And this is not a
Jake
spoiler for
shows
the
up
movie.
3 minutes into the movie.
Jake disappears about here, I'm going to guess,
Yeah.
So apparently Jake only exists in the middle third of the book.
of the first book and later, but that's complicated. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
it
go
is
into
very
that.
complicated.
I'm not your, but I'll put the back later when I can actually from dead on.
But he's the focus of the movie. Jake is the main character of the film.
Which when you jump into the Dark Tower, because it is a very like high concept fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
I get the shift to make the human
To make the
Earth
viewer
character.
understand,
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
to
he-
be like
he is an analog
we
to
need
that.
we need somebody who's like on the outside so that they're seeing everything for the first
which
time. So
I'm
we're
gonna say a
seeing
sentence
everything
that
for
doesn't
the
make
first
sense to
time.
people when they see the movie.
Yeah.
But of the three character choices you have to make the viewer's analog, Jake's the best one. Eddie is too far gone down his
Mhm.
path.
Yep.
Detta absolutely is not. Odetta is like not even
Mhm.
close to an option. Jake is definitely the one
Mhm.
that makes sense to be the like, hey, let's explain shit to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that.
Just some. So my first full page of notes is from the first 20 minutes of the film. This is a weird choice that I'm assuming is the director. That, hey, you've got a meeting with your therapist. Fist bump.
Yeah.
And then
That
Oh,
shit's
you
cool.
mean Nicolaj? Am I
No,
saying
no,
it,
but,
am I
like,
saying it right?
this is-
Is it Nicolaj or is it Nicolaj?
Nicholas.
Nicolaj.
No, but the mom fist bumps
Nicolaj.
Jake when she's like, hey,
Yeah.
you've got your therapist today. Fist bump. And then like 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later in the movie,
He fist bumps someone else.
there's another kid. He's
Yeah.
like, how you doing, man? He's like, oh, I'm having a really bad day.
But fist bump.
Fist bump.
Profis.
I was like, why is the
Profis.
director directing these cast members to be
fist
like
bump.
to fist bump? One, for things that should not be fist bumped.
I looked at his IMDb. He's got a couple bigger credits, a lot of writing credits, so many
Yeah.
writing credits,
Yeah.
so many writing credits. So I mean, yeah, he also directed A Royal Affair, and he seems to work very closely with his the same DOP,
Yeah.
Rasmus.
Which is pretty common.
It's
Yeah,
funny though.
happens a lot.
Rasmus was actually here in the Okanagan in 2014 shooting Blackway, which I worked on
Oh
with
yeah.
Anthony Hopkins, Julia Stiles, and Ray Liotta. Rest in peace. But yeah, no, it's really bizarre when you see that. Oh, hey, I worked with that guy like
Mhm.
forever ago, but it's kind of neat.
I will say, and it's a this whole movie. I'll say there up front, which I this mitigates my anger because I understand the machine driving it. This feels like, and I think I'd followed the news for a while because this was again a property that I'm a big fan of. This feels like Sony had the rights to this movie and had to make it.
They made it so that they didn't lose the rights to it.
Yeah, right. Which ironically they've
It
now lost the rights
almost
to
feels
it.
like a fan fiction.
There's
so much that's changed.
There's
insane.
I'm gonna wait till we get to the end of the storyline because
Yeah.
there's a point that actually from a Dark Tower fan makes this movie acceptable, which we'll get into when I get there. Like there's a way to look at this that's like absolutely this is not an adaptation. This is actually a sequel to the books, and it's a whole complicated conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I do love, at least from the production design team and stuff like that, and as we go through it, I might bring it more, but you talk about the therapist. The production design team, whoever there was, set deck, props, whatever, clearly did their research and loved or put like heart into the Stephen King aspect of it, because The Dark Tower, its big claim to fame as a book series is that it references most, if not all, of Stephen King's works. And there's shit that happens like in the therapist's office when the earthquake happens, and you see things shaking. It's a photo of the Overlook Hotel from The Shining.
Oh, it is. I didn't notice.
Yeah.
That.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
When
cool.
Jake's waiting to go to school and he sees the low man, like the skin people, there's a mother and her son walking a Saint Bernard.
Did you notice
Cujo,
that
right?
when the two boys were in the room,
He's playing with Christine.
Playing with Christine. I
like,
was like,
like
oh!
actually, if I want to go on a list, later when they're by the amusement park, there's a Pennywise sign
I
with
saw
balloons
that.
coming out of the ground.
Oh.
The number 19 is everywhere. The code to get back to Midworld is 1408.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Trying to go into it, like there is a shit ton of just Easter eggs and fun little conversations, properties talked about in this movie, and I really appreciate that aspect of it, like a lot.
Well,
like it's
the
really
whole,
well done.
The whole point of the Dark Tower was to connect most
unify.
of, if not all, of Stephen King's work into one larger.
I remember
universe.
the one reference that we were really sad that the director DOP noticed was when we were filming the Humanity Bureau. We were in Chester's apartment.
Wolf Cop.
No. We snuck a VHS copy of Face Off into Chester's apartment, and unfortunately the DOP saw it and like turned the videotape around so that we wouldn't catch it in the background. And I was like, "Oh, come on, man!
That's a shame.
Should have just left it in there."
But yeah, like, I'll say like from a the biggest problem with this movie is that the script tried to take 7 books and go, we can do this in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And like inherently
the hubris.
Someone in the steps
hubris.
should have gone, whoa, sir, you're talking about thousands of pages.
Hour and a half movie.
In 90 pages.
I just want to say,
I still feel like they just decided to do the first 2 books, kind of, and then just a smidge of the third, and then just call it a day. They just call it a day.
Well, no, the whole Dixie Pig thing is like the later on. The
it is? Oh,
Sayer
cool.
and the Vampires. The I don't know if you might have gotten this far. Is the when the Man in Black is talking into the spheres, essentially the Palantirs from.
I think I kind of remember
from
that.
Lord of
Yeah,
the Rings.
it's been a
There's
while.
there's 12 of them made, which each represent the beams going to the or the Guardians going to the tower. And the 13th one, which is black, which is one he has. But like the bend of the rainbow, all those little stones, those are a whole thing. Like, again, the amount of homework done into this, but this feels like when you adapt a book and check off all the boxes, but don't make them work right. Like, they reference everything.
They're just like, we referenced it all,
They checked
so
off
it's
all
all
the
there.
boxes
It's fine.
except the final one. Make a good movie.
Yeah. But, yeah, anyway, sorry. So I'm going to be on Hinge's entire episode. Keep me in line, please.
I want to bring up the fact that so last week's episode was in dreams, where we have psychiatrists not believing somebody that they're seeing visions, and then we get that again this week.
Like a common
he goes to the psychologist. The psychologist is like, no, it's just like your dad died, and this is just
do
all
you
that
think
darkness
the
coming
fire
through.
and explosions is related to how your dad died? It's
Which,
like,
by the way, is a weird beat because, again, talking about things you change randomly.
Mhm.
In the book, both of Jake's parents are alive.
Yep.
And they're kind of shitty parents.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like this whole.
I mean, stepdad was shitty in this movie.
But Elmer Chambers, it doesn't work as a firefighter. He's I think a TV.
I thought he was a lawyer or something.
No, he's like a network TV network guy, and his whole specialty is I want to say it's scheduling shows next to shows to kill other shows.
Oh,
Like he's the guy that's like
He's a show killer.
Yeah, he's like.
so
the-
you
the
put a really
ratings-
shitty show in front of another show so that people change the channel and don't go back.
Yeah, and like his whole thing is like to get the ratings down to then maximize the profits of the network. Like he's like a TV network scheduler guy. And like the mom is just a which maybe Lonnie is the reference to this, but the mom is very like infidelity heavy. Like Jake's parents are terrible, which is why this whole like focusing on like the family unit was super weird to me for the.
And he has like a
movie.
really good relationship with his mom in this.
Yeah, it's strange.
I just remember, so I was 10 minutes into the movie, and I was like, man, I'm 10 minutes into this movie, and Idris Elba isn't here yet. 10 seconds later, oh, there he is.
Yeah. The main character of the Dark Tower series. Just missing. Yeah. By the way, I clocked it. I think it was like 18 minutes in is when we hear the sentence, "The man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed." It's when Jake wakes up from a dream. Which, if I find it in this book...
Oh, I believe it's the page 1.
For those of you listening and not watching, Jesse's continuously picking up a copy of the
So
book
I've
to
gone
reference.
to the first page of The Gunslinger, Chapter 1. The man in black fled across the desert, the gunslinger followed. It's the first fucking words of the book.
And I want to point out that
words.
never happens in the movie. It's said as a line of dialogue. We never actually see
Which makes
the man in black flee across the
almost
desert.
makes you wonder
The
if this
gunslinger
is a
followed.
different universe, right? You could get away with doing that.
Again, we will get to that point.
Yeah.
Um,
I just say, though...
Mark, cause a wheel.
Yeah, so it's true. So Idris Elba, I mean, I think he was a good choice. The action scenes with him were good. I think Man in Black. All right. Matthew McConaughey. I mean, he's an evil. Like he's
a good choice.
evil.
oh,
Casting
his-
is not a problem.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Matthew McConaughey's acting as the man in black was great.
He's the only thing I'll say, again, bringing the book into this, which I apologize. I know we need to judge a movie based on what it is, but when you're adapting something, you kind of have to
It comes with the territory.
do this.
Right.
He was a little too rigid. Walter in the books is very like there's a great scene.
He's pretty chaotic.
In the gun store is actually a great version. Like there's one of my favorite shots in the whole fucking movie is when
He's not walking?
Yeah,
Where
so
he's like
it just
he's
it's a
gliding.
two shot, them facing each other
Because it's a projection.
It
Of
just
him, right?
it just was walking and Man in Black is projecting himself onto him, like mocking him, and you can see Idris Elba taking steps, but clearly McConaughey's on a dolly.
Yeah.
Of some kind and gliding just in front of him, being like, everyone you know is gonna fucking die. And I love that shot of like, fuck you piece of shit, just like mocking him. That's way more the Man in Black than like, a couple of the scenes, like whenever he's with his people, honestly, those are the scenes where I'm like, that doesn't feel right.
Okay, those. Can I bring something up?
The Rat Men?
The Rat Men. I don't remember them.
So they're in
don't.
The first time they show up in Stephen King's books are in the short stories anthology Hearts in Atlantis, and it's Low Men in Yellow Coats is the short story, and they kidnap children, and it's a whole thing.
Okay,
they're called the Teen, I want to say. They are kind of the minions of the Somber Corporation. Oh, fuck me.
So,
but it was just like I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, so these are obviously the bad guys, but I don't remember.
Well,
them.
my big thing was, again, so I've never read the books.
Yeah.
I'd never seen the movie before this. Was that all we know is that people are wearing skin masks because you see the one guy kind of rub his neck and it's the seam.
Well, and that was pretty well done. The rat people in this.
No, that was great. But then there's one of them that isn't wearing the skin mask and has a weird like metal plate over his mouth.
It's like a Hannibal Lecter
muzzle or something.
Yeah, it's a muzzle.
But so we see him, and then it's commented of go find a masked rat boy. You're in my house. And the movie never even, and the movie concludes the story, like it's over, but they never once touch on what they are, where they're from, why they're helping this person.
They're from Midworld.
They're
They want to
just
help the Crimson King. Oh, the
they're
Crimson
just
King thing
minions.
is also not even addressed at all.
Yeah,
At all,
I
really.
was wondering about that. I was like,
So,
All hail the
actually,
Crimson King.
you know what? I think what my benefit is here, if I give you like a 10-second outline of what the Dark Tower story is.
Okay.
Yep.
So, it's half fantasy and half science fiction. A little bit of Western sprinkled through there. Just aesthetic.
a little spaghetti western just thrown in there.
So, the series starts with Roland chasing the Man in Black through the desert. You don't know why. And inherently, he's trying to stop the Man in Black from getting to the Dark Tower because the Man in Black wants to go to the top room of the Dark Tower, which basically makes you God. As the series progresses, you understand that the Man in Black is benefiting from bringing the Crimson King from outside the multiverse in.
Mm-hmm.
Crimson King is this Satan-esque figure that's been in a bunch of Stephen King things. He's in Insomnia, stuff like that. But the Man in Black is one of those characters that's like, he's kind of a Starscream. He's working for the Crimson King, but he's also kind of like, well, it could benefit me.
He's trying to come out on top. Yeah.
And Roland is obsessed with chasing him. There's a whole backstory that's done in Wizard of Glass, but it's like the Man in Black was the court wizard that betrayed him and his kingdom and his mother and like a bunch of shit. It gets really complicated, so I'm not going to go into that, but essentially he becomes obsessive with revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole arc is that Roland's revenge against the Man in Black outweighs his heroism as a gunslinger, which are like the Knights of the Round Table.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole theme is that you need to exact justice, but not vengeance. And the difference between those.
And Roland's drive for revenge seems to be what keeps him going, rather than my duty is to stop the wizard from reaching the Dark Tower, which the movie was so weird about the whole protecting it. And I'm like, wait a second, that's not what, like, because I'm watching it and I'm slowly remembering what I read, like, I don't know, 20 years ago. And I'm like, geez, like I distinctly remember him just wanting to stop the Man in Black from reaching the Dark Tower. It was never protecting the Dark Tower. They were never the protectors of the Dark Tower like they were in the movie. So there was a bit of confusion at first until I was like, you know what, fuck it, it's a movie. I'm just gonna try to turn my memory
thing,
off.
which is the Gunslinger's Code, and like one of the things is like when you shame yourself, you forget the face of your father.
Yeah,
is a whole sentence. The whole series is kind of, without saying it out loud until the end, Roland has absolutely forgotten the face of his father.
Yep.
Like he is 100% not in the right. When I brought up the point that Jake's only in a third of the book, it's because Jake dies because Roland realizes I could save the kid or catch the Man in Black.
Yeah, and he
absolutely chooses to catch the Man in Black. He comes back later as a whole multiverse thing, but
honestly, I was expecting him to kill Jake.
Yeah,
to stop the Man in Black. I was honestly,
which is why it's like this movie is such a weird mishmash of trying to hit the themes of the book, but then at the same time
trying to
create its own thing, and then it becomes nothing. Yeah, like so. Yeah. Essentially, you're chasing this figure across reality to stop him. It's a very classic hero's journey with weird shit happening amongst you.
And I like how the movie had a bunch of like technology from Midworld, as a way of explaining how they're able to get from place to place. I distinctly remember that not being the way it worked in the books.
There's two. So there's doors that spawn magically, which are just straight up fucking doors with like door handles you open, like on the beach.
I remember that now.
By the way, I don't know if you remember this. Did a chunk. They're in this movie.
Oh, they are.
When Roland's hiding in one of the stores in the final shootout, there's a glass water tank and there's a fucking lobstrosity behind him.
Oh shit!
There's these giant lobsters that go.
That's hilarious.
Anyways, but there's
no
magic doors, but then there
are
man-made doors, and there's a whole thing like Midworld's talked about this thing of like an ancient people that had technology. He references the amusement park like the world's gone past or whatever, and
Choo Choo.
Yeah, Choo Choo. Again,
read the books.
I don't want to diatribe here, but this whole movie does such a good job of touching upon, referencing, and like glazing past, but then never committing to informing the audience member. Yeah. Like this feels like a movie that keeps,
it feels like fan service in a way.
It feels like
to
fan
people
service,
who love the book,
but to the detriment of everything.
Yeah,
like the fans go, yeah, but you're fucking it up. Yeah, and then the people who aren't fans go, what the fuck is happening? like it's it's such surface level that it pleases no one.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the sentences that fucking set me off hard was when they go to the seer to find out where the man in black is.
Right.
And she goes, "Oh, he's in the northern wastes. That's a 6 months walk." And he's like, "We don't have time for that." And I was like, the entire book series is a walk. That's the whole point. That's like making all 3 Lord of the Rings movies into one movie and going, Mordor is 4 months away. We don't got time for that. Take the Eagles. Like,
if I recall,
it's fucking insane.
Yeah. If I recall, though, they couldn't get through in the books. They couldn't get through the wastelands because it was so toxic that they had to take the train, which is a psychotic artificial
intelligence. The whole thing.
Yeah.
Choo choo.
Choo choo. I love that poem. I think I went back and read that poem like 5-6 times. Like, this is retarded.
Yeah, getting back onto following through the film. So he draws.
You knew what you did when the randomizer chose me.
Yeah. When he draws the picture of the house because he thinks there's a connection to this house, and he throws it up online to be like, "Does anybody know where this is? I think it's in New York." And one of the comments is up your butt, and I was like, "That's accurate."
Yeah, I was like, "This is exactly what would happen."
Which that touches upon, I think, Wastelands a bit because the house demon is from Wastelands. I want to say the 3rd book again. Like this kind of
isn't that how Jake gets back?
Yeah.
See, and again, it's the whole thing of like, oh yeah, kid killed a house demon,
and
I was just like, there was a demon. Like I just thought that was some sort of trap left.
But that's what I mean. Like
at no point was it made and like, hey, this is a creature that lives in the house.
Here's a great analogy I can give: is I feel like this movie has a lot of remnants. I want to say 2 weeks ago was In Dreams for you guys.
Yeah.
No, it's the episode right before this one.
Whoa.
What the fuck?
slight studio error.
It's from Jesse.
That's not my bag.
No, it's my bag, but I think it was from fiddling around back here.
Oh. I think it was. No, because the fog was between In Dreams and Dark Tower.
No, I think the fog is next.
Could be wrong. Either way. But you guys were talking about like that flooded town and how like why would you shoot this or whatever?
Yeah.
It feels like fog is next week, Jeff.
Okay, sorry. It feels like artifacts of. There's a train.
Is that a train?
Is that the choo choo?
Choo choo. Blaine is.
But
pain.
there's. It feels like there's artifacts of the books in this movie that again, it tees you off of like, great, we did it, and then again, a non-audience member's like,
yeah.
I just saw a bunch of wood attack a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I don't know what this is.
Can we talk about The Shine for a minute? Because that definitely wasn't. Jake is it later? Is it later though?
No, Jake is psychic, but they never in the books refer to The Shine. That's them really hammering home the Stephen King things. Where what's his name in The Shining?
Oh, Danny
in The Shining.
Red Rum
has The Shine. So that's the doubling down.
Shout out to my kid who just watched The Shining and has been going around all week saying Red Rum.
I think they call it in the books The Touch, but essentially it's the psychic power. Yeah. Right. So that Jake is psychic. That's kind of what like makes him one of the 3.
The
all I could think about was so he goes through the portal.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh look, Nevada / sections of California.
Yeah.
Like there was
some of those.
There was no attempt.
Outdoor like rock outcroppings. I don't know if that was real. If they just VFX that because some of that shit was pretty
some of it
impressive. I feel like the ones where they're on the cliff, basically when
he's holding them over the cliff.
Yeah, like that feels like that was.
Oh yeah, that for sure.
But I mean, that's the whole kind of like high cropping. I feel like it's built with a green screen.
I meant when they go to the village, that area looked insane. That area was super cool.
It was again because there's no explanation for this. Is that what was it? Midworld
versus Keystone Earth
is clearly like
post-apocalyptic,
but was just like Earth.
Yeah.
Like
but more advanced. But more advanced.
Yes.
All of the like clothing and stuff so is fine.
Essentially what happened is
it was the same.
The old ones got super advanced in their technology. You see a few remnants. I want to say it's the Tet Corporation and the Sombra company. But you see their technology left over. But it's a thing where, not dissimilar to our world, got super advanced to the point that we created the means to destroy ourselves. Right? So like the corporations got too greedy, whatever, and so everyone's left over is the remnants. The book says it, and Roland does say it in this movie too, which is like the world's moved on, is how they describe it. right? Which I kind of like because I hate apocalypse. It's like it's the end of the world. It's like no, it's the end of people.
Yeah,
the world's fucking.
Because
fine.
I remember in one of the books, they come upon a village and it's just old people.
Yeah,
and they get so excited to see a kid because they haven't seen a kid in like maybe 60 plus years.
So loud, Jesse.
I'm sorry. I'm a lot right now.
But it was it's interesting the mix of seeing the old tech that they're using.
Midworld is
Midworld.
essentially when the Gunslinger starts in the book, it's a very old westy shantytown type feel, but it's built on the bones of a world that has moved on, right? And then as you go further into it, you find more it starts very like we've restarted now. We've now hit the Western phase of technology again, Old West colonization. And then as the book goes on, you find like the more post-apocalyptic technology advanced stuff. Knights. It gets weird. There's Doctor Doom.
Knights with the guns.
No, there's Doctor Doom Knights.
Yeah.
Literally the Wolves of Kalar dressed like Doctor Doom. With lightsabers.
So there was one thing
Rap
that
snitches kniches.
that bugged me, and Brooke, if you watch this one's for you. When Jake uses the portal, the Man in Black has just come back to his structure.
Yeah.
When he comes in, he takes his coat off and hands it to somebody, and they walk away. He calls out the rat person, put on a mask, blah, blah, blah. They announce that, hey, somebody used a portal. It's this kid. He's in Midworld now. And the Man in Black goes, find me a portal that's close. And then walks up to the portal, and he's got his jacket back on.
No, that's bad. That's bad continuity.
Like that's like he takes it off, hands it to somebody who walks away, and then they go, "Hey, we found the kid." He goes, "Okay, I'm gonna go get him." And he walks up to the portal with his coat back on, and I was just like, "No, that was too. It was too quick of a cut."
Yeah.
Did like if he'd said like prepare the portal,
actually
have it ready in 15 minutes, and then he walks up to the portal wearing his jacket.
This movie is a very bad edit. None of the scenes breathe. A scene ends the second someone's done talking.
Yeah.
There's no like someone will reveal like damning information or like something heavy.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to someone's reaction for 2 fucking seconds and then moves on.
Yeah.
It's like it feels like they had honestly it feels like they were forcing into a hour and a half runtime.
Which is weird. It's just such a short movie for what it is.
It feels like there's extra footage lying around somewhere. And,
I don't know, dude.
Yeah, but
Mike Flanagan fix it for us.
hopefully he'll make Amazon sign a contract to the end of the series, not a hey, let's do one season and see what happens.
Yeah.
I feel so bad about
and
that.
so
for Mike Flanagan.
at some point they kind of Roland is explaining the purpose of the Dark Tower.
Yeah. Which actually I do love that the fireside scene you're talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the because I had a note that just says other worlds have creepy forest amusement parks.
Yeah.
Pennywise? Question mark.
But so he's explaining what the Dark Tower is and what it does, and it's basically stopping all these demons from like coming through and destroying everything.
Yeah.
So
which works,
does
but it
this
doesn't because it's supposed to be the center of all the universes. But
does this take place in the Warhammer 40K universe? Is the Dark Tower protecting this world from the warp?
God. Again, but to Mark's point, like
those demons are cool.
It's like someone understood the idea of the Dark Tower, but not quite. Like, it's not that it's generating a field that keeps it at bay. It's that at the time, the Dark Tower was the linchpin of reality. Then some shit grew on the outside. Like it's an accidental happenstance, less than like a protective barrier. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think this is when the first part when they actually bring up the fact that the Man in Black's name is Walter. At which point I was just like,
no,
really?
it's earlier. It's a throwaway joke line.
Okay,
He's like, I'm chasing Walter, and then Jake's like, his name's Walter, and that's like when they're on the mountain bridge.
But anyways, I made a note of it here. Then there's the whole thing with Jake seeing his dad, and it turns out it's a demon trying to come through.
Because then
Roman and at that point, I was like, absolutely, they're warp demons.
Yeah.
They were friggin' cool looking.
That sequence I'm fine with. I mean that never happens to my memory in the book that the Crimson Kings so like the world enters ours. I don't think so. But that sequence I'm totally fine with because it gives them a reason for Rowan to get wounded and then to go to the village and I get why that beat exists.
And the antibiotics are really good when you have super healing.
So they come. This is something I want to talk about. They come back to Keystone Earth
Yeah.
and they go to the hospital because Roland has a really bad infection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got the
So
space
in the
eggs.
books, again, to clarify, Roland is not superhuman. He's enchanted in the sense that like he's allowed to heal faster, or whatever, but he's not like superhuman. He's still like
But
a
did he
stab.
have resistance from the Man in Black as it's stated in the movies to
No.
the magics? I
Well,
didn't think so.
Yes. No, hold on. Specifically, like to attack him, yes, because Walter the entire time only like the whole palaver happens. Tull happens, the town where he makes the booby trap.
Because he's definitely a superhuman in this movie.
Oh, the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole final fight and the fact
Yeah.
that he drops multiple stories and just brushes it off.
I mean,
and-
like Roland is a fucking tank in the book.
Oh, he is. But
I mean, he
he's
gets
not.
his fingers cut off,
Yeah.
and like he's
Hey, don't forget that's his lovemaking hand.
that is absolutely loving.
You need to read the books, Zach.
But,
They're pretty good.
I just like when they're in the hospital and they're like, yeah, so your test came back. You have
this is book accurate.
yeah, hepatitis
A, B,
A,
C,
B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
chronic radiation
Yeah,
poisoning,
this is all actually accurate. To the
all
book,
this
I'll
other
say.
stuff, and he's just like, yeah.
Yeah, your antibiotics got me feeling fine.
So, and that's the thing is like there's a
Oh,
beat
man.
in I think Drawing of the Three, the second book, both where he tries Advil,
Mm.
and I guess you can't do it in a movie the same way.
But
The
wasn't
internal
wasn't
monologue-
He was possessed inside of.
Yes, in Eddie's head.
Yeah.
But he just
but-
takes a handful
Yeah.
of
Yeah. But what I'm
painkillers and
saying is,
antibiotics.
this is book accurate, where he's been like just like living shitty his entire life, and takes Advil and goes, "This shit is fucking incredible."
Did you
And then-
remember?
And then he has a Coca-Cola for the first time in the
Yeah,
book,
yeah.
and I've never heard someone. I don't know how Stephen King accurately described the first time having a Coca-Cola at like 30 years of age.
Yeah.
Like
No, but he did, and it was like
It was
like, oh my god, the
amazingly
sweetness,
well done.
the sweetness, yeah,
Which is-
yeah.
kind of hurt me because they did the Coke gag,
Mm.
but he's like, "What is this? Oh, it's good." Roland
I was
has a
expecting
fucking
more.
existential crisis at the existence of Coca-Cola.
yeah.
It is one of the most groundbreaking
Tuna
fundamental
fish.
moments of, oh my god, the tuna fish sandwich.
Tudor. He calls it Tudor fish. I'll have another one of those Tudor fish sandwiches.
Basically, Roland's existence shatters the moment he goes to our world of like, this is
So
the
much
greatest
better.
place I've ever been in my life.
I love the like. Do they have guns in your world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna like it
Are
here.
bullets are they as rare on your world as they
Yeah.
are on mine?
You're
You're,
gonna
gonna
like
like
it.
it on my world.
Yeah. Specifically though, even though as the books go on,
54 caliber
Jake is from
or point
Jake
45.
or Jake and Eddie from the same time frame.
Yeah.
they both from the 80s?
Might be a couple years off. I think Jake is slightly forward in time, and I think Eddie is slightly back.
Yeah, and because Dead is like 50s, right? 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
Essentially, they universe jump in the books, but also time frame jumps,
Mm-hmm.
and it stays locked to like even as the books went on, like 80s New York,
Okay.
right? So it being modern era, it doesn't change much, but there's a couple beats of like Jake on his cell phone being like, this really does change like some of the beats of the book, like
Mhm.
weirdly enough, just
Mhm.
having a cell phone.
The kid really reminded me of I want to say Sebastian from Neverending Story.
Oh, I can see that. I
Yeah,
can see
Like
that.
just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
actor, not
Yeah.
the performance, but the
Yeah.
actor himself just really reminded me of.
And I thought the kid did fine for what he was given.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, like I don't think casting's an issue in this movie.
No,
No,
not
Because
at
again,
all.
like Sayer is played by fucking Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
that
about to
was
say
great.
I have it in my notes.
That's a good casting for that.
Yeah.
Again, he's underutilized in this movie, but that character is from the book, and that's a fucking great. When that was announced, I was like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like great."
No,
Casting.
yeah, I liked him in that role for sure.
yeah. I didn't like the stoner from Cabin in the Woods being the weird.
No, that was
like computer guy, but
I mean, it's still like for the movie. He
the
fit.
low men were weird in this whole.
I
movie.
really
yeah.
liked the I don't remember their names, but the two the assistant and the doctor who came to take Jake to the
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
they were good. Like they don't really exist. I don't think they exist in any way
No.
in the novels, but I think they were great characters,
yeah.
and they played their parts perfectly. They were creepy. They were like
The scene
way
where-
too busy
The
on
scene where he
getting.
gets them to kill themselves are great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kill
No,
each other.
I honestly, yeah, McConaughey was just the right choice
Again, a great man.
for
in black.
and especially like Man in Black in general, but just for that movie as well. So.
Yeah. And again, like Idris Elba is not miscast as Roland. I think he does a good job. This is where it gets complicated. The internet's super racist. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
throw that out here out
Yeah.
loud.
Well, when you describe as somebody looking like Clint Eastwood with jet black hair and icy blue eyes,
And
that's what it says in the book.
There is one valid point to saying he's miscast. However, when you watch the movie and realize they had no intention to like keep going, it's fine.
Yeah.
There's an entire major plot point of racial tension between him and a black woman later in the books that literally can't happen without him being white.
Yeah.
That being said, so like when that first came up, I was like, yeah, I can kind of feel people behind this. And then I watched the movie, I was like, oh, they had no intention of ever getting to this character, so fuck it, it's fine. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Idris Elba was a really good Roland, that gruffness, the kind of
The actor whose name I wrote down but forgot, who played his father, was also great too.
oh, the insurance salesman.
Oh, is that what he is?
No, he's in
He's a State Farm guy.
State Farm.
Oh, he is. Oh, I think you're
Is it
right.
State Farm?
Yeah.
A good name for State Farm is there. Anyways,
It's not Geico.
Isn't he Jake from State Farm?
no, he's not Jake from State Farm. He's Crisis. He's whatever that other insurance company is where he's like, I am chaos. And like chaos can strike your car at any point in time.
Oh.
He's the president from 24. Anyways,
I
great.
think it's
casting.
still State Farm, but
Yeah. So anyways, Jake finds out Roland, they go back to the world, and when they're buying guns, the Man in Black ambushes them, right?
yeah. So I didn't like the fact that we've already shown that Roland has gold. Like at the hospital, he's just like, for your services, and hands them a gold coin, and then immediately goes into the gun store and just tries to rob them. Like he just pulls out his gun and he's just like, give me everything you got in 45.
Maybe it was a this is a matter of time. Time is of the essence, because he knew that
The tower's under
being
attack.
in a weapons shop, that the Man in Black could make the person turn on him at any given moment. Maybe that's what it was. I mean, but yeah, I agree. It's like he's got a huge bag of gold coins,
especially like seeing this. Well, hold on, because like they're at the hospital, then they're on the bus.
Yeah.
Then they talk to the homeless guy who used to have the shine and was one of the kids. Then they go to the gun store the next morning. Is that the order of events?
Yes. And he just walks in, pulls his gun out, and says, give me everything at 45.
Well, they shoot some cans.
Oh, right. He trains him to be a gunslinger.
Yeah.
Right. And he says, let me see if I can do this here.
But wait, not like this.
No, because
this.
Yeah, absolutely. So he does not aim with his hand.
That's right.
To aim with his hand, just forget the face of his father, he aims with his eye.
Mm-hmm.
He does not shoot with his hand. To shoot with his hand, forgets the face of his father. He shoots with his mind.
Mm-hmm.
He does not kill with his gun. To kill with your gun is to forget the face of your father. He kills with his mind, with his heart.
Mm-hmm. Which I was bothered by that statement, which I'm sure is directly quoted from the book.
It's the gunslinger, like
it's the Creed.
Creed.
That it goes
essentially that your weapon is not what does it. You are,
but
you kill, you aim, you think.
I didn't like you aim with your hand, you shoot with your hand, you kill with your gun.
You kill with your heart.
No. I'm going through the other ones where it should have either been 3 different things or all 3 the same thing. I didn't just from a writing standpoint, I didn't like the fact that it was hand, gun.
Shoot with your finger could have been.
Or you just shoot with your hand. I do not kill with my hand.
No, but it could have been like, I aim with my hand, shoot with my finger, kill with my gun.
Or aim with my eye or something like that.
Well, he does aim with his eye.
Yeah, that's the right thing.
You aim with your eye.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I know you're trying to make it so that it's 3 different things for both. Yeah.
But I do like that because it's basically saying that like Stephen King said, saying that guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is a true
Guns
thing of
don't
like,
kill
like
people, I kill
the
people.
gunslingers have to be aware that like
I'm killing that person.
This is an extension of me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which goes into the dance, which we see throughout this movie, pretty well done.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion,
that last shooting sequence was fucking.
No, but before we get there, because we're getting to the end. Before we get there, I want to talk about rat people infrastructure.
But all right, Zach, please tell me,
because we're finding out that there's a lot of them.
There are a lot
on Keystone Earth.
Oh no, here's my favorite thing. Do you know that? So everyone that you met in the Dixie Pig, those are rat people. What do you think they're rat people?
I don't know. It's the people that wear masks.
No. You're right. The skin mask people are rat people. But are you aware that everyone in the Dixie Pig's a vampire?
Really?
The movie absolutely fucking doesn't reference that in any way. Sayer licks the blood to taste the shine.
Right, and he knows.
Yeah, They're vampires. Everyone in that fucking place is a vampire.
Okay, so the movie has you believe that it's all just these rat people.
Yeah, I'm aware.
So for me, I was just like,
because Father Callahan shows up later in the books from Salem's Lot to fight the vampires.
But there's like a fuck ton of these things.
The vampires.
And he just waits
the vampires
for the right time to strike and kill.
They can go
He just hides
really
behind the pillar. He hides behind the pillar, and then he waits, and then he just
No,
annihilates all of them all at once.
Mark, I need to say something. The vampires can go in daylight. Anyways, I'm gonna walk away now.
So anyway, my
It was
big
just
thing
a little
was
bit of daylight.
my big thing was like that means you have to have rat person coroners and rat person police, and everybody needed, because if one of these fucking things dies in public,
Yep.
you need to be able to hide it.
But that's I'll say again, movie does bad job explaining. Books do, because they're first showed up in a short story called Low Men in Yellow Coats.
So much infrastructure.
They do, but that's the whole point. Is that someone having the conspiracy theory that these people exist,
Yeah,
and then discovering that they're right and all shit. But
Well, then he got them to kill each other in the restaurant, and then he just walked away, and there was no cleanup.
he also told that everyone that's fine,
That's true.
yeah.
Enjoy the show.
Everybody said,
Enjoy the
"Calm
show."
down, enjoy the show."
Yeah.
which they nailed Walter's like ability to just tell people to do shit.
Mhm.
The whole thing, like in the book. I recommend everyone read this book series, by the way. I don't know if that's clear yet. Tull, the town, that's essentially a trap for Roland and the gunslinger.
Yep.
That's a great sequence.
Yeah, so the ending, the big shootout, the big fight finale was fucking awesome.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah. Again, they describe in the book as Roland doing a dance, as like when he's like reloading, and I think they nailed that correct. Like him during the demon scene earlier, when he loads the fucking, he spins the barrel and goes
and just drops the bullets in. So
great.
I love there was multiple different ways that he loads his guns. That was the first one where he just spins the barrel, drops bullets in, because at this point in time he mostly just has pockets full of bullets.
Yeah.
Then later on, after the gun store, so he has this gun belt that has a bunch of the speed clips.
Yeah.
For loading revolvers.
Because he's got a 6-shooter.
Yeah. But then he also, under that, just has a regular gun belt. And he spins the cylinder of the gun along his belt as he's pushing, like thumbing them down into the cylinders, just winding it across the belt, which was great. And then later on, using the speed clips, he's just like throwing them in the air, popping the cylinders open, catching the speed clips.
It's even further than that. You're forgetting that when he throws them in the air, he throws them in the air to start actively shooting, fires all 12 rounds through his other ones, and
Then
times
opens
it to pop them down and load them in.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah. That's why he took out, like, I don't know, 100 people.
Again,
in, like, the course of, like, a couple minutes.
They nailed the fact that the gunplay had to be for what this character is, like...
Really on point. Yeah.
Sublime, really, is the best way to put it. The only gunplay in this whole movie that makes no fucking sense, and we're about to get to the ending, so if you wanted to say anything else first.
Wanted stuff?
All I had was, in the final fight, the thrown from the bus CGI and then getting hit by the car CGI was god awful.
Awful. And there's no reason that Roland should be able to survive that. He is, in all intents and purposes, a dude.
Who got his
like they literally, like, what?
Some fingers.
They fall like 4 stories
into a bus.
And then as they're
into
falling...
into a bus window,
front
right?
window. It's what they're doing is they're falling and a bus is driving forward, and it times perfectly, so right before they hit the ground, they hit the front window of the bus and go into the bus.
I will say
then just continue fighting.
One of the best small subtle references in the whole movie, though, is when they're riding, or they're downtown in New York at night. I can't remember which scene it was, but you see a top view of a bus go by, and it's bus 6761, but we're seeing it upside down, so it looks like 1919. That was a nice touch.
In the final shootout with the Man in Black at the portal, so they've got the kid. He's strapped in.
To suck his
They're trying to
energy out
suck
to
his,
blow up
his shine.
the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Odd sentence.
Yeah.
Suck it out.
And so the Man in Black is just using like chunks of metal and earth and glass to like block all the shots, and he's catching bullets. Like he can just grab them out of the air
And throws them back.
But then he shoots a beam, and he just like turns and looks at the beam, and it smokes him in the face. And I was like, "What?" He was catching bullets, but he couldn't react to that.
Yeah. No, the better one that gets me is, and I get that it's a clever distraction, Let me tell you what the scene is and how you can fix it in 2 seconds.
Please.
He shoots Walter
Mhm.
and then fires again and ricochets the bullet to bounce the first bullet to distract him. So
Mhm.
he shoots one bullet so he goes to catch it and then fires another one as a secondary one. How does the second bullet catch up to the first bullet? I don't know.
Especially fired at an angle.
Yeah, listen, man. And like that one irks me so hard.
The only explanation for this is that Walter was slowing it down to
You know
catch
what?
it.
Maybe I can actually accept that one. That one,
Like
because
he's using his
because
his
if you're slowing a
telekinesis.
bullet, you probably have to start the process.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking far away.
So he's using telekinesis to like slow the bullet down so that he can catch it.
Is it
And the other
telekinesis
one,
or is it
magic.
shine?
It's magic.
I did like that. Like the way to shoot him
Is to
was
distract him.
to
Yeah.
and to like he thinks he's about to catch it
Yeah.
and he's focused on that.
And then
But then
unload 12 bullets into him.
Yeah. The way to like 10 second fix that is somehow get Jake to escape mid
Mm.
like fight
Yeah.
and have him be the other gun.
That's what I thought.
Training him as a
was gonna
gunslinger,
happen.
like to have them work together
or
as a quartet.
in
Which I'm not gonna
oh my
explain
God.
that sentence
In
this
an
entire time.
alternate ending, I almost saw Roland distracting Walter, the Man in Black, so that he could shoot.
Yeah.
Jake,
Jake.
because that would have been the only
Again,
way to stop
killing
it.
him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would have been the only way to stop it. So,
And
and that
then-
would be truer to the books.
And then basically at the end of the movie, Jake goes to leave with him,
Mhm.
and they go and they get in a portal and they're going to adventure, which does actually set this up to potentially do a drawing of the three,
Mm.
which is the second book. Because the Crimson King is not. It's 420. The Crimson King is not neutralized in this.
Mm.
Man in Black is, and if you've read the books, the Man in Black dying is kind of a thing that happens every 10 seconds.
Mhm.
He's 100% like, I'm dead. Just kidding.
I'm back.
Not. So
I'm
yeah.
back again.
because even like it did feel semi-intentional of them opening up. The shot of McConaughey on the ground with the bullet hole and no blood
Yeah.
is also like, again, knowing the character and
I
knowing,
figured that was just for the PG-13.
maybe. Which that, by the way, is also insane to make this PG-13.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, a lot happened in this movie.
But
torturing
like,
kids.
that was a shot of like, okay, we're addressing that. Like,
Mm.
hey, here's his body dead. Anyways, and just kind of
Anyways.
moving on. There is a beat that makes this an interesting adaptation for the books because we've never reached the end of the movie.
No. There's what I have.
Oh yeah, hit me.
I have a couple notes. When he's like, "What's this?" I was like, "It's a hot dog."
Oh yeah, yeah.
He goes,
So
"You
savages.
savages!
What,
What breed?"
Yeah.
Wiener dog, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
And then
The best.
two
That's
notes.
why you're breeding.
Two notes
Yeah.
on the credits.
Yes.
4 writers.
Well, one of them is Akiva Goldsman.
They probably had to have that many writers just to make like
No, I'm
when you're adapting, right? Yeah,
Ah,
you probably
I don't
just
know.
need one person just for the adaptation alone.
For me, it was just strange that it took 4 people to write this movie.
Yeah.
And then
Have you ever looked at credits for music songs for songs?
Yeah,
For
yeah.
music songs.
Music songs, songs with
Music
music, not other songs.
my other note
Akiva
was
Goldsman.
Ron Howard. No,
He produced it. Though.
he produced it.
Yeah. Well, I think he was supposed to originally direct it, and then it just kept going, and then
Yeah,
fell
he just
apart.
didn't do it.
So,
I was
let me-
just sad to see his name attached to it.
Let me give you the filmography of Akiva Goldsman, the man who kills things.
Oh no.
Batman Forever.
Okay.
Batman and Robin. The
Ugh.
Lost in Space movie.
Ugh.
Practical Magic. I, Robot. The Da Vinci Code. I Am Legend. Angels and Demons. The Divergent series. Transformers Last Night.
Are we calling him out
Dark
as somebody who's
Oh, no.
bad at adapting?
Oh no, he's attached to the Constantine sequel. He also produced Deep Blue Sea, Starsky and Hutch, Hancock, The Losers, Jonah Hex, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, Firestarter. He's an executive producer on Paranormal Activity 2 through 4, Doctor Sleep. Oh no. Oh no.
Is he attached to the new Dark Tower series?
No, but Doctor Sleep was directed by Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, it was, but I did know that. But
Yeah.
Akiva produced Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
And Akiva's attached to the previous Dark Tower movie. Mike Flanagan's doing the Dark Tower show. Maybe Akiva might spread over to the Dark Tower show.
No, I don't think Michael will let that happen.
No. Michael?
Look, we're on a
first name basis
very
now.
first name basis.
So
He prefers Michael.
there was an interesting point, and I do apologize. I'm going to spoil the Dark Tower series
Okay.
right now.
A spoiler warning for those
I
who
will
want to just
forget.
skip ahead.
Yeah. I'm going to do something fun here. If you like the podcast so far, just stop listening. Nothing good awaits you. So in the end of the book 7, Stephen King tells you that. Stop reading now.
Yeah.
You'll be much happier if you just stop reading now. Because basically Roland doesn't defeat the Man in Black, but Roland's won. He's at the Dark Tower entrance, and he's like, great, you've won. But he wants to go inside. And the whole thing is like his obsession is kind of what propels him this whole time.
Hubris. Yeah.
Yeah. He goes inside, walks up to the top of the tower, opens the door, and there's a whole thing that the movie also references too. One more time around the cycle. Matthew McConaughey says a couple times of like old friend. Like it feels like Matthew McConaughey understands what I'm about to reference here outside of itself.
He does. Yeah.
Which is Roland has been doing this thousands of times on a loop. Every time he gets to the top of the Dark Tower, all he has to do is not open that door. But the second he does, he restarts the front. The first word of the first book is the Man in Black ran across the desert and the gunslinger followed. The ending words is the same thing because it's just a cycle. However,
well, they tell you that through the entire series.
Yeah,
as well.
Even in the film, they make a couple references to the
cycles and wheels.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, in the version you read in the books, there's a battle called the Battle of Jericho Hill. You see it. It's when his dad dies, right? Like that whole I saw a battle and all this stuff. And there's the Horn of Eld, which is like their call to arms horn, but it's a symbol of the gunslingers. He abandons it at this battle. And then in the end of the book, when he loops again, he's like packing up his stuff at the campfire. He has it, meaning this cycle, for some reason, he didn't abandon it. And it's almost implying that like this might be the cycle that breaks it, right?
The chain, yeah.
The entire time in this movie, Roland has the Horn of Eld on him.
Oh, interesting.
So this movie is possibly, and like when they were marketing it, Stephen King tweeted a photo of the prop being like last time around.
Oh,
so this movie is not inherently an adaptation, but a sequel to the book series. And this is why things are different. This is the next cycle around where things are different, things are tweaked, things are happening out of order in a way that they shouldn't, because this is the version that Roland actually breaks his vengeance cycle. In that scope, I can kind of dig this movie.
But again, the whole not protecting the Dark Tower instead of just
exactly.
Yeah, there's so many changes to the
I think
it's
a clever way to validate a change. I still think it's a piece of shit.
Hey, I looked at the budget for this movie.
Yeah,
66 million.
Not bad for what it is.
I mean, I've seen a lot worse movies that had more budget.
Yep.
So, and I think they box office
did well,
112, but they consider it a flop. Which, I mean, unless they had another 50 million in marketing. Yeah, so they didn't consider the marketing part of the 66. Yeah. But to be fair, you can't take a beloved franchise and kind of just, hey, we're going to make an hour and a half long movie out of a seven book series. I mean, even Lord of the Rings, as long as a non-extended cut, as long as those movies are, they're still only covering like a quarter of the book, because there's so much in those books. And then to take a 7-book series and condense it into an hour and a half is just insanity.
The first book is 297 pages.
That's a good book. I remember.
You've adapted 7 books into, if we assume
90 minutes.
If we assume also the rule of like a minute a page, 100-page script.
Yeah.
So you took one book that was 300 pages essentially. This is the smallest book in the series.
Yeah, Wasteland's like easily 900 pages.
Yeah. So like thousands of pages, and decided, let's really just kind of compress this a little bit. Let's make
just a touch.
So again, there's no Eddie, there's no Odetta, there's no
Oi. See, I feel like
fucking Oi.
I love Oi.
Going in,
there's no Mordred, which you're not even aware of yet.
Now, I can't say that I went in completely blind because Jesse, you have explained a lot of the Dark Tower lore to me.
Yes.
So I don't know if it actually works or not as somebody going in just to watch a movie, if it's okay as just its own thing.
I tried to watch it as its own thing. That's how I tried to watch it.
I watched it with Nina, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, but she seemed to like it and engage with the lore as it was being given to her.
Yeah, like there's issues with the movie. It's not a great movie, but for being like, and again, I think it could have easily added an hour to its runtime to expand on the
Yeah.
worlds.
Yeah.
Yep.
But as far as just kind of like a fantasy sci-fi action adventure,
Not bad.
it's not terrible.
No, but again, like this is
I'd say like upper mediocre.
Yeah.
this is the
Yeah.
problem though. Is like and
Upper
this
middle
is
class.
so hard when you're talking about. I think we've been decent so far on the podcast. We've not encountered a remake yet. I don't think.
That's true. We've encountered
No.
originals that have been remade.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
but we don't.
But I
encounter
don't
remakes.
think we've come across a remake.
But that's a
of
tough thing
remake.
that when you're talking about adaptations or remakes, that you should judge it on its own thing.
Mhm.
But you can't fucking help.
Yeah, you can't help
But
but wonder
compare it to-
what could have been.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
clearly someone took this thing that people loved
Mhm.
and decided, I want to adapt that. And everyone went, great, love it. I love that we're doing this. I love that we're either changing the medium or changing the tone, technology, time frame, whatever. And then to create something that is lesser than,
Hmm.
and you never know where it came from. Is it the
Mhm.
skill set of the people? Is it the time frame? Is it rushed? Like we worked on movies that could have been great if they were given 2 more weeks of shooting.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Mhm.
like you never know what the issue is, but it's just you always have to kind of acknowledge that like
Is it just Sony needed to get the IP in and out just so
I'm
they could
guessing
keep
so.
it? Just
I'm
so they
guessing
could
so.
keep it.
Yeah.
Because maybe they had a like, hey, if we don't get this done, we lose this
well,
franchise.
and I think Akiva also is semi-responsible for Amazing Spider-Man in some way, shape, or form,
Mm.
which is exactly the same thing. Sony being
Yeah.
like, let's fucking pump out a
Mhm.
movie.
Well, it's
So
it's kind of like it's kind of
he's
like
Avi.
it's kind of like Disney.
Yeah.
Like let's make
maybe
a new
I'm
Star
confusing
Wars
those two
movie
people.
every
Actually,
year.
maybe I am.
Avi Arad was the dude who was like,
I'm confusing with Avi Arad, but Akiva Goldsman is also
Yeah, he's like the Avi
Yeah.
Arad of the film.
but Avi Arad I've always had an issue with because he's just like, I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's the greatest thing ever, and then like continuously shat all over fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
and with great power comes great responsibility, which Avi has not used.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I guess like my closing point is that I think the movie is ultimately fine on its own. It's not spectacular. It's not terrible. It's just ultimately
It's an okay movie.
okay film.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, it's based on something that has so much material and so much thought put into it.
So much stuff to draw from. Yeah.
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 Like the drawing of the 3. Anyways,
Yeah.
I would say if I'm just going to
Prime
ratings,
numbers.
Yep.
Prime numbers.
technically, I can't give it a lot technically because like the editing's pretty rough. I would say it's like a 6.
It is
5 or 6.
absolutely like for the time period that the film was made,
2017.
nothing stands out.
No. CG's
the,
not great.
The only standout shot for me in the entire film was that shot in the gun store where Matthew McConaughey is clearly on some sort of dolly,
Yeah.
so that he's perfectly still as he's backing up, and you can see Roland's movement
Slugging
from walking.
through it. Yeah.
But other than that, like there's nothing standout about it. It's absolutely
Actually, you know what? Technically as well,
mediocre.
like the grading on this movie is disgusting. Everything's so muted and gray and bleh,
yeah.
right? Like
Maybe it was different for me because I watched it on my daughter's Apple laptop. And the screen is. You have an Apple laptop?
yeah,
Did
but
you-
I watched
okay.
it on TV. But even though,
Okay.
like, no, I remember in the theater, like
Mm.
the desert in the book is described as so hot and arid and whatever.
Yeah.
And in the desert, it's like
Great.
It seemed plain,
gray and
Yeah.
plain. Like again, like all
It seemed more like a tundra than it did a.
again, like every landscape in this, and there was no. Granted, a lot of it's set in like New York, where there's just gray concrete, whatever. But there's not pops of color. There's no vibrancy to it, and like this being a fantasy story,
Mm-hmm.
it's everything's so muted and bleh. Which I get when you look at a surface level, it does feel like fantasy horror, and you might be inclined to do that. But like the most vibrant shit was when the demons came out of the fucking
Yeah.
universe, and it's all like crimson and red, and
Yeah.
like that shit looked cool. Also, I'm just minor pissed off moment. The amount of shots that we saw of the tower and we never saw the rose field pisses me off.
Mm.
The
True.
tower is
Yeah.
surrounded by just a field of
Was
roses.
it poppies?
Roses.
It was
It was
one
roses, yeah.
one
Which is why when they went through the door at the end, there's the 2 roses graffitied on the
one
door.
thing that I completely forgot about, and I never made a note about it, was the fact that like it's kind of showing like where Jake lives in the beginning, and it looks like like Soho,
Middle-ish class, like
no,
upper
but-
lower class.
but it's
yeah.
it's like uptown Manhattan.
Mhm, mhm.
and then he goes to school and then gets off the bus to go to the psychiatrist, and he's in Times Square.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got to make that plug,
and let me
right?
tell you, well, that's the other thing. They don't overly show that he's in Times Square. If you don't know the area, you might miss it. The only reason I think I picked up on it is because I stayed in a hotel for a week, a block off of Times Square this year, that I instantly recognized some of the signs and because all of Broadway is in and around Times Square. And I saw some of the theaters and I was like, oh, that's where he is. But then they didn't even like show it off. Like they just, for whatever reason, went and shot in and around Times Square without ever having, like, normally when they shoot Times Square, they show Times Square.
Did they just green screen and drop shit
but also,
Maybe.
why is the kid going to his therapist and getting off a bus in Times Square?
Well, they had to know it's New York. People don't know it's New York unless it's Times Square.
Yeah.
Because when they showed the bridges going to there as well, then no one was on the bridge.
We're not in London unless you see Big Ben or the.
I will say Times, with the exception of the fact that that's where Broadway is, and I wanted to go to a show. Times Square itself is my least favorite part of New York.
It's fair.
It is a tourist hellscape.
Yeah.
It was much more pleasant to go just take a stroll through Hell's Kitchen.
Not in my kitchen.
And I mean, like, technical, it's like a 5.6.
Yeah,
like,
it's just 5.6.
It's just
Mark.
I don't know.
They did their job.
I want to argue, just because I know I liked the villages, I liked the encampment where they were abducting the kids. I liked the aesthetic of the old tech. I really liked. At the beginning, there was very little gunplay until we get to the very end. I thought the demons were amazing. I thought the ruined
production design.
That's what I mean. Production for me, production design was very, very high.
Yeah.
And I think it's supposed to be sort of a gritty, ruined world. So I think it should have been, that area should have been muted. I think New York should have had everything pumped up a little bit more. But I mean, I'm watching this, and you know me, I've got a crazy eye. Like, I'm always looking for, is a film grain? Does the film grain match? I'm looking at the film grain. Like, that's how I'm watching in dreams, and I'm like, oh, the film grain is fantastic. Oh, they shot this on film. I had to have shot this on film, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, my brain is like going into overdrive, right? And I'm watching this and I'm not really seeing anything that like was problematic for me.
You're not bumping on anything.
And nothing is bothering me. I was just watching the movie and enjoying it. Like, despite the fact that they were shitting all over Stephen King's legacy. Aside from that fact, I'm watching the movie and I'm thinking, technically, this is a good sound movie. And I had no issues with it.
Which I guess goes to the point of like, and we've been this too, where like sometimes the problem is way up there. The people doing the work. The people doing the production design, the shooting, the post work, like they know what the fuck they're doing, and they're doing their jobs. They're hired and paid to do a job, and they're doing it fucking well. The problem is
the people
the
who
turd
are making
they've been
decisions,
asked to polish is still a turd. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where it becomes like the hardest thing to review is a movie that is not bad; it's unexceptional, and that's how I describe this. Is like, I don't think this will be considered like, oh, what's your go-to fantasy movies? This will never be.
True.
In that list at all.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like a bad movie, you can dissect all the reasons that it's bad and why it's bad. And a great movie, you can talk about all the things that make it great and all the choices that were made to make it great. A mediocre movie, you're just kind of like, well, it was a movie.
I feel the same about this movie as I feel about... oh god, what movie is it called? Is it Savages? It's the movie with like who's Ryan Reynolds married to?
Blake Lively.
And then two dudes that are like both the grow pot, and then she gets kidnapped by Benicio del Toro. It's a movie that I just don't give a shit about through and through. I don't hate it. I just
don't care about it.
I don't care about it. And like, this is Dark Tower. If I didn't have this attachment to the books, I would have watched Dark Tower and then absolutely forgotten it existed.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Technically, I'll give this probably an 8, actually, which is maybe like higher than you guys. But I watched it. I didn't see any issues.
Yeah, but that's
a lot of it. I did. A lot of it I did like.
Is that
I liked a lot of it.
That's fair. If you dug it, you dug it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. See, I was looking at it from a stance of there weren't issues with it, but they didn't do anything special.
Yeah, there's nothing memorable with it. Entertainment value, I don't feel like I need to answer that question.
I really dig the portals.
entertainment
I don't know what it
value-
was. I really dig the portals.
Like,
I really
entertainment-
dig the way they did the portals with the weird, like, sort of like moving around.
You
and,
know
like,
what?
trying
I
to-
will give it a 5 for entertainment. Only because honestly, when we were in the production design, the amount of fucking references I can find in this movie
Mhm.
are
And so that's for you. That's an
massive.
entertaining thing to try and find them.
Yeah, the puzzle pieces.
Like for me, entertainment value, yeah, it's like a 6, because could I sit there for the 90 minutes and watch the movie and be somewhat entertained? Yeah, like I didn't think it was great. I didn't overly enjoy it, but I wasn't begging for the movie to end.
I was rating technical, so if you want to talk about entertainment value,
That's what we're in now.
I'd give it like a 7. I give it about a 7.
Like we've
so.
looped. We
Yeah.
started with
Hey,
technical.
it's a
This-
wheel.
This,
It's a
this
wheel.
review's a wheel, man. This is a quartet that we
It
just
is,
formed right now.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Don't forget the face of your father.
Man, this movie forgot the face of its father so fucking
did.
hard, dude.
It did.
So fucking hard. I wish this movie has fucking no long days and no pleasant nights, okay? Fucking no
Nice.
thank you, Sai. Oh my god, I hate this movie.
Are you doing it?
wait. I'm gonna end the episode, and then you're gonna go on a rant, and I'm gonna walk away, and you can just keep going.
We might
You
even
can
come
sit
back.
here.
I gotta go to the bathroom, so you can do your rant. I'll come back. I'll sit in for a bit. I might leave. I might stay. We'll just
Great.
see what happens. But I think you should. I think you should let it all out, and I
End it.
think that'll be for the.
End it.
Okay. Before we do
Patreon.
that, Angela
Release
asked me
me.
if she should order pizza for everyone. I say yes.
It doesn't matter because I'm gonna unalive myself after this
Okay.
podcast.
I'm gonna tell Angela to order pizza.
I'll stay for a
Um,
slice. Maybe.
Yeah. That was another episode of the Random Cinematic Universe
Just feel
where
random feels targeted.
Jesse hates the algorithm for choosing the Dark Tower. Um,
No, I gotta stop your outro for 1 second because I have to have a contained rant for a second. When you sent us like what 15 episodes
Mhm.
that you scheduled out,
16 or 17
16?
episodes.
my sight seeing that I'm on the Dark Tower and me going, so Zach, you broke the algorithm, and you went, no, that's what happened, and me going like, I fucking refuse to believe this. I absolutely refuse that. Of all the
It's a-
fucking 5 of us to end up
Uh.
on the episode of the Dark Tower, I happen to be on it, is insane.
It's the
It's
wizard.
ludicrous.
It's the wizard.
And
Wizard
it's I feel like I'm being fucking attacked.
I believe when I originally, because what I did first was I wrote the schedule of who's in what's episodes.
Mhm.
So I just wrote out, Mark, Jesse,
Yeah.
Nina, Jesse, Jacob, Mark, da 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 da.
It would cycle through
And it
trade partners.
for each of my co-hosts to do an episode with each other person takes 6 episodes total.
Yeah, we wanted to make it somewhat even. And
Yeah,
then having
so it's
it-
always
yeah.
even that
Yeah.
I just have a slug of 6 episodes that 6 sequences
Mhm.
that repeat, and then I go through and I just went Netflix, Amazon, Disney, Netflix, Amazon, Disney, Netflix, Amazon, Disney, and then I would go in and just hit the randomizer to fill in titles. I believe originally the Dark Tower fell between 2 Jesse episodes, and I think it was like Nina and Jacob or something, and I swapped 2 of the scheduled. I still like Dark Tower still just came up in the randomizer. I didn't choose it, but I absolutely I think it was like a Jacob Nina episode and then the Mark Jesse episode, and I swapped them specifically to get you onto the Dark Tower because I had to.
We need a camera facing this direction.
You fucking traitor. You fucking piece of shit. I'm gonna kill you.
It's not the first time you've made that threat on this podcast.
Alright, end it. Just fucking end it.
Okay. Oh. That was another episode of the Random Cinematic Universe. The show that lets a randomizing algorithm choose the movies we watch and then discuss, and where I occasionally fuck over Jesse with a scheduling change. We watched The Dark Tower.
We did.
It was interesting. Next week, we're watching The Fog from 1980.
It's like the mist,
Um,
but not.
It's a
And that episode,
TV version of the
that's the Nina and Jacob episode. That's the one that got swapped.
Great. So I had to watch this instead of The Fog, a movie
Yep.
I love.
Yes. Anyways, so that's what's up next week. We're glad you could join us for this episode. Please like and subscribe. Help us out. If we can get enough people watching the show, we might actually, be able to pay for our streaming services instead of out of pocket. That'd be great.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, and you know what? Take Stephen King. Get him to watch this episode. See what he thinks.
And I didn't.
The Gunslinger.
C.S. Lewis, though, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yes, correct. Good job, Mark.
So I didn't know you wrote another book there. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
No, I mean I'm just looking at like
He was a very religious person.
I remember. Yeah, there's a lot of religious
Mhm.
overtones in his.
Whoa, name one thing that's religious about Aslan dying then showing up 3 days later.
Right. And saving everyone.
Yeah.
What did he have against?
And he's
like
ride
what,
me!
What did he have against cold white women though? I wonder.
Cold white women.
Old white women.
Oh man, the White Witch is the ultimate Karen.
Here, have some snacks. Now you're my bitch.
Here's some Turkish delight. Get off my fucking property.
Oh, you do sound trebly.
I am trebly. I got no bass.